Good afternoon, Adobe Universe. Good afternoon, Mark Edward Lewis.
Good afternoon, Darren Gleaves.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Good.
It's day 3, back from NAB. If you've just tuning in today, you've missed 2 amazing days if you didn't watch them before. But you can go to YouTube, you can see them both there. Day 3, we're getting into the real dirt today, aren't we?
The real dirt.
The real money. It's going to be awesome. Mark Edward Lewis, filmmaker, sound designer, composer, director, comic book aficionado, nerd. What else? Did I miss anything? I boiled you down into about 6 words?
That's enough.
Cool.
Plenty.
Mark Edward Lewis is the face of the new 2 hours of training videos in Audition Learn. So if you open Audition, you go to Help, Audition Learn. 2 hours gets you from 0 to, well, not hero, but able to hang with the heroes.
Yeah.
Audition now has these, amazing videos in there now to help you get from I've never opened a digital audio workstation at all to what I would say a 3 out of 10. And it's there, we cover everything from just the basics of getting around an audition, and then also what kind of microphones should you use for your particular purposes? What kind of listening environment should you be in? How do you deal with the room or the conversation downstairs? How close should you be? Some general great recording tips as well. And I'm really proud of how they came out, and a lot of people are getting helped, and hopefully you can too.
Yeah, they turned out fantastic. And it's a good segue into once you get through those first 2 hours and you're craving more, you want to become a master, where could people go to learn a little bit more?
Well, there's not a lot of places where you can get good, comprehensive information, as you all know, on sound and audio for picture or even podcasting. And I created a website called cinemasound.com. And it's sort of the world's only comprehensive audio and sound education for multimedia and independent media creatives. 85 hours. It covers everything from record, edit, fix, effects, music, mix, and then your workspace. And one of the products that we actually have on the website is, we call it Adobe Audition 1, 2, 3. And once you go through the help aspects that are now bundled in Adobe Audition, that 85-hour education sort of assumes that you've worked with Premiere or some other non-linear editor, which if you have that kind of experience, generally you'd be at a 3, I'd say, in a digital audio workstation, because you know about timelines, you know about those kinds of things. Well, our education takes you, this little thing that we have in our store, which I'll show you in a second, takes you from the end of the help tutorials in Adobe Audition that we just made, all the way up to where you would need to be for CinemaSound, the 85-hour education. Also in this education is basically a master's degree kind of level on directing, cinematography, editing, visual effects, still photography. We just came out with a new education on color correction, which I haven't actually seen. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So my portion, the audio portion, is 85 hours, and then there's 60-odd hours more. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going to click over if we can go to the thing. Hey, there we are. Thank you, our trusty director, Paco. So this is CinemaSound, and it has a free blog that with all kinds of stuff to fill your bandwidth about just about everything you want to know in the world of audio, reviews, demos, how to use software, plugins, and lots of stuff on Adobe Audition. And then the store, let me go up here, is here. And we're really excited about some of the things. That's Adobe Audition 1, 2, 3 there. We also have headphones just like this, which I use all the time. In fact, I use these to mix in airports with sometimes, because they really do a great job of rejecting outside sound. And then this thing we have here is the Foley library that's not quite complete, but it's coming out. And if you don't know what Foley is like footsteps, this kind of sound.
It's raining outside.
It's raining. Oh boy. Anything that the human body makes while on camera, that's what Foley is. And normally to make footsteps, you either have to hire a Foley artist, which is a great idea, or drag little footsteps in, one audio bit at a time. And what happens is when the director or the producer comes in, or you get it into the mix, and you're like, gosh, this is really the wrong Foley. We need to change the sounds. You either have to reperform it or redo all of those audio bits, which is a total drag. Our Foley library will have all kinds of things, boots on concrete or cement, stones, sneakers. I mean, all kinds of things like this, skin, clothing, but mapped to a piano keyboard. So if you've got a little MIDI keyboard, it'll work, and it works through Sample Tank, which is free, and it works in almost any digital audio workstation. And what that means is you perform it in MIDI. And then if you want to change the sounds, no problem. The performance is still there. You just change it to, I didn't like the sneakers on cement soft. Let's use the sneakers on cement loud. Or let's use the boots on cement. Boom, boom, boom.
We were talking about high heels on gravel last
High
night.
heels on gravel. Yeah, that's usually just broken heels, but sounds an awful lot like sneakers on gravel.
Yeah.
But it's a really great thing. We're really excited about that. So we're creating a lot of great resources for filmmakers, independent audio and cinema folks, and even podcasters. And then we have a forum where we ask and answer, well, we don't ask, we answer lots of questions on all of the disciplines that we have going on there. And even Duran has been noted to come on and ask and answer. I keep getting the ask and answer. You're answering.
I have questions too.
You're asking, thank you. And he'll come on and answer any questions that are Adobe Audition and sometimes even Premiere, but don't tell anybody related. So that's Cinema Sound. And it kind of all started for me. I was like 6 years old back in 1977. For those of you with dope math skills, you're already there. Oh, how old is he? And my grandparents took me to this movie, this independent movie at Mann's Chinese. And if you've never been to Hollywood, it's the theater, that cinema that's on Hollywood Boulevard where you put your hands and feet into the cement, all the actors and stuff, producers. And I was in there sitting with my grandparents at this weird independent movie, and it starts with the orange-yellow text that's doing like this, and then the weird ship comes in like this, and then blows up the ship over there, and then there's droids, and you know what I'm talking about. And that movie changed me from a 6-year-old who was destined to be a paleontologist, because I loved dinosaurs. I wanted to dig up every one of the last dinosaurs on the planet, to going, hey, whatever that is, that's what I want to do. Unfortunately, I was born to a couple of professional musicians, so I got into doing music for film and television, then editing, then sound production, then post-production supervision, then finally filmmaking and producing. So what I realized is there's just not a lot of education for we independent filmmakers about how to create that Hollywood sound. And on Tuesday, Duran talked about this great quote from George Lucas. He says, cinema's, what's the quote?
The quote is that sound is half the picture.
Sound is half the picture. And I'm sure that's true on one level, but in the real world of Hollywood, not that George isn't in that, but for us, the audience impact is everything. And I say that audio is 80% of that impact, the impact that the audience receives. And today, we're going to be dealing deeply in Adobe Audition on how to create that impact, that immersion, that suspension of disbelief that audio provides so powerfully. We've got a 60 to 80 odd track mix that we're going to be looking at here in a second, and it's going to be great.
I'm excited. So we've established your credentials.
Good.
You're the real deal. I think everybody's just excited to be able to learn more, get their chops up, get that professional sound in their video projects, and really elevate the things that we're all making to another level. But before we can get to that, we have a little serious business to get to.
Serious business.
Yeah, get the serious business noses on.
There we go.
So, the last challenge of the week. This is the prize. This beautiful look, it matches our noses. This fantastic, I'm gonna call it leather. I'm not sure what kind of cow makes it, but it's this fantastic Adobe bag, nice big logo, big weekender bag, good straps. I'm really jealous. I'm gonna have to see if I can find one of these on the way out.
Wow.
challenge winner. So if in the behance.net/live, if you click on the challenges tab next to the chat, you can download. You can get the instructions. You can download the different puppets. You can download some other assets, build an animation, follow the instructions, get that uploaded before the deadline runs out. Mark will be picking a winner near the end of the show, and that's going to be pretty fantastic. I'm really jealous. I really like this bag.
So nice.
All right, now
That's the giveaway.
that's the giveaway.
Yeah.
Bag's the giveaway.
The bag's the giveaway.
Challenge prize is Creative Cloud.
Challenge prize.
Challenge prize. Am I mixing the two up?
Yeah, the giveaway is the chat one. That would be 30 minutes.
I understand. I just made a mistake. So that's the challenge prize. I keep calling it a giveaway, but you actually have to do something for that one.
Right.
You have to make an animation using Character Animator, which you can download from Creative Cloud application on your desktop, or you can go to adobe.com and go and download it from there if you haven't already done so. Otherwise, we have a giveaway later, but that's not for that awesome bag. That's just going to have to work for that. Okay.
No free
now
bag lunch.
No free bag lunch. I'm smiling and we're supposed to be serious.
Serious. Very
All right, let's stop that. Let's get not serious anymore. All right, so today we're going to really be walking around a pretty complex session. Is this one you just made up, or is this something that's a real world session?
It's a real world session. We actually made, for the cinema sound education, we did 5 little short films, and from the beginning of how to record it with microphones, lavs, booms, and everything, all the way through editing, sound effects, what music choice, and then the final mix in 5.1. This is one of those sessions that we use. Now, it's obviously in 5.1 and you're in compressed stereo, so you're not going to be able to hear it go like this, but you'll get the idea.
You don't have to do this. I need to do this.
Okay.
Let me clarify. The bag is the giveaway. If I'm correct, you don't have to do anything other than be in the chat room, chat with us, and exist for this awesome bag.
Is that true?
That's true.
Wow.
The challenge, the Creative Cloud Character Animator Challenge prize, is a subscription to Creative Cloud for a year. That is an awesome deal. I got the thumbs up. I finally got it right. Last day, last opportunity. I'm finally getting the bag down on this.
That's all right.
Right.
We're clear.
Got that off. Oh,
Cool.
it smells like clowns in
It
here.
does. Dirty
Still,
clowns.
Someone's got to clean this room.
Man, where's the vacuum?
All right, I can't wait to now to jump into this. Enough
Okay.
with the foolishness. Let's get some
Seriousness.
learning.
All right, by the way, this little window right here is the window that shows up if you haven't closed it already, which has the Adobe Learn videos that we were talking about, all this cool stuff that's in here that we did, and to help you get up and running as fast as possible with Adobe Audition. Once you close this window, it won't reopen unless you go here.
Where did it go?
To help. Where am I at? Audition Learn, just there, and then it will reappear, which is super dope. You also need to have an internet connection to be able to see the video stuff. Cool, so this is Adobe Audition, and this is, I'm just gonna kind of give you the overview of what's in here, so you're not going, what is all this stuff? But let's hit play for a second. You can kind of get, this is a scene from Macbeth. Well, why not use,
Go to the bard.
Can't get better than the best, right? And this is Joshua Fowler and Rivka Ravenwood in just a little scene from Macbeth.
Thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire. Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage?
Prithee, peace. I will do all that would become a man. Who dares do more is none.
And then it loops, and it loops because this happy little button here, the loop playback button, is on, so that whatever selection we have from the time tool, it just keeps looping back and forth. And by the end of this little session today, you will have memorized this portion of Shakespeare, which is super dope. Yes, everybody wants that. Now, some of you are going like, man, that's a really bad mix. And you're right, because we haven't done much with it, but we will in a second. So let me just show you here in the edit window. I'm going to make this a little smaller so we have a little more room. The picture's going to get smaller, but you'll forgive me now that you've seen it. Up at the very top here, We have the video, this is actually the track, video track. We have tones, and by tones, we always want to have the 2-pop, which is a little 1 frame, 1,000 hertz, or any kind of tone that goes toot, so that the person who's cutting picture always has a reference to what we in Audioland are doing if they're not using the same program. In this case, probably not. And then you also have a pop at the end, 1 second or 2 seconds after, depending on what you all have agreed to. That way it solves any issues that you might have with drift. You're like, oh, it started at the same time, but something happened along the way, we don't know what. That tail pop is what helps us know if that indeed happened, that drift. Then we have buses, which these are the master buses, which I'm going to show you about in just a moment. The print master, the stereo print master. And then because there's only 2 actors in this particular scene, there's not a lot of dialogue. We basically have a Becky, Rivka has her lavalier, Josh has his, and then there is a boom. Pretty simple stuff, 1, 2, 3. And then we have 3 different kinds of reverb actually, which we're going to talk about in a second, all devoted to dialogue only. That's what DX is. Then we have all the sound effects. Not a lot of sound effects in this drama scene. Normally in a feature film, you'd see 150 to 300 tracks or more of sound effects. But you know, we wanted to keep this to a minimum because at least in this part of cinema sound, we're not training on the sound effects. We're training more on the Foley and the ambiences, which we're about to get with. Here's all the Foley tracks, footsteps, that's what F/S means. She's got these cool jewelry, they're called earrings, good. College words. Earrings that are going on that we had to deal with, which was awesome. And then, of course, all the clothing walking around. They have their own verbs, their own reverbs as well. And look at all this green stuff. Well, this is actually the stems from the music. And I'm going to zoom in here because it has both a source bit of music that's going on in the other room where the king and all of his buddies are having dinner, along with clicking and clacking of dishes and those kinds of things, but a little band going on over there. But then the actual underscore we want to have maximum control over. So we've got WW stands for woodwinds, horns, brass, celeste, harp, metals, low percussion. The choir, there's a solo violin thing going on in there. Then the overall strings, then the basses, and then any effects. There is a 5/1 reverb that we're using on the music just to give it a little sheen. And that's the music. And then we have some ambiences, both front and rear. And that's basically the mix. So it's a few channels. Whoa! It's a few channels. Let's look at it from the mix window. And I'm going to use a key command to jump there because anything that I can do to keep from having to use my mouse always makes things faster. This is a representation, if you haven't spent much time in the mix window, of the edit window, but more of a vertical representation where we slide over. We don't have the capability of dealing with the editing of the clips themselves, but we do have a maximum ability of changing the volume of the volume of the actual individual tracks, channels, and a much easier way of getting around dealing with plugins. So it looks much the same. We've got the master buses here. And what these buses are basically the culmination of all the tracks in a particular discipline. And you can see just here for a second. If you look at these outputs, this may kind of blow your mind. You're probably used to seeing, the output of every channel being like this one, a master. It's going to the final stereo output. But in this case, we've said, hey, go to the DX bus. Now, buses have nothing to do with you going to school or anything like this. It's just a way to kind of submix or mash a bunch of signals together where you can process them all together, which is super cool. So all the dialogue is going to this DX bus along with the reverbs here as well. And here is the DX bus over here. This is then going to a 5/1 print master because we're doing this whole mix in 5/1, and that's over here where we can do all of our, LFE, dealing with how to roll off the LFE stuff and manage all kinds of things like that, which then finally and ultimately go to the master. We have these masters, these buses for the dialogue. We have it for sound effects, Foley, music, and ambiences. And the other really cool thing about why we do this is not only that we can edit, the overall sound of the dialogue, because as you can see here in this dialogue bus, we could change the EQ of all the dialogue at once if we needed it to be brighter, darker, something like this. But it also allows us to change the volume. So for a moment, if we need all the dialogue to come up, or we need all the ambiences to come down, or all the music to come up and down, we don't have to control all these faders at once. We can just go grab one fader and they all move up and down, which is super, super cool. All right, that's the theory. That's kind of the layout of the session. Let's take a look, because yeah, the mix doesn't sound super great. So let's take a look at the dialogue first. So what we're going to do is solo the dialogue bus. That basically means all the other channels and buses are muted or not being heard. And you can see when I solo this, all of the dialogue-oriented and master-oriented channels go into a solo with this cool little parentheses. Oh, no, there they are. Those are the parentheses for the buses. And it already knows, oh, we're going to solo all these, so that's cool.
Love, but thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor.
And if you look here, this is the 5/1 channel.
Love, but thou feared to be the same in thine own act and
And you can see left, really, really teeny. Left, right, center, LFE, and then left surround and right surround. And obviously, well, typically, we want the dialogue mainly coming out of that center channel. And you're like, well, what's all that other junk going on? Why are the other channels? Well, we've added room reverb, which I'll show you about in a second, and there's also surround reverb going on.
love, but thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor.
But it's mainly center channel. What we want to do is balance this dialogue, because she's a very dynamic actress. And we talked about doing this yesterday, how to balance dialogue, and we can use compression, and we can use all kinds of things like that. Let me just check here. We actually have pre-rendered a really easy, let me show you here, tube model compressor, which we talked about yesterday, a parametric EQ with sort of a basic grade, and I'm also using a real-time plugin to do a de-reverb, because the room that we recorded in was really reverberous. So I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm going to show you something really cool that, if you haven't done this before, will change your religion. Now, if you come from Premiere Pro, you're really, really familiar with keyframes. And keyframes are great, right? You can get in there and just dial it in just right. With audio, sometimes doing keyframes isn't very natural and might create some unnatural results. And for those of us who come from an old school music mixing days, we like to grab faders and move them and then have them return to us how that move went. How we do that in this case, and let me just see which channel this is. It's this one right here.
But thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire.
So act and valor are really, really strong, and maybe a little too strong for us. So we want to grab this fader and pull it down just at those moments and see if we can balance her out just a little manually for a couple of syllables and see if we can make it nice. Of course, we could use keyframes, but I just want to show you what automation does. I'm going to zoom in here. Now we have all kinds of modes. We have write, which I'm not going to talk about, and we have latch and touch. I'm going to use touch for now. What's the difference between latch and touch automation? Latch automation basically means once I hit and click on a fader or any parameter, it will continue to write over whatever was there, and I can let it go, and it'll stay at whatever place that parameter was until I stop, and then after that stop point, it'll return it back to wherever it was, which is super cool. Touch is exactly the same thing, only as soon as I let up on the parameter or unclick, then it returns it back to wherever it was, even while I'm still playing. And because I only want to hit a couple of little syllables here, I want to use touch because I don't want to keep messing with whatever else might happen. Okay, this zoom factor might be a little much for me to deal with. Let's see here.
Love, but thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor.
So I missed same. We're just going to go back to the top here.
But thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor.
Now let's see. I'm going to move the mouse away just in case any of you think I'm cheating.
Love,
No hands.
but thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire.
Super dope, right? I didn't have to go into record. I didn't have to deal with inputs. Just a really simple, really natural way of dealing with a couple of little peaks that maybe the compressor didn't quite get for us, right? Super great. You can do this with parameters. You can do this with EQ. You can do this with all kinds of things like that. So let's keep playing. Let me see how far we have to go here. Oh, we got lots. So let's just keep playing and see if we can find something else.
But thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life?
Now we kind of lose her there.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life?
It's a really lovely line. It's just really, really low. We can't really hear it. And we could easily go into clip gain and, boost that, but there's a lot of little syllables in there. It probably shouldn't all come up the same. So let's do the same thing here. I'm going to go back and zoom in. See if I can get this right.
Wouldst thou have that?
Maybe if I use the correct channel, that'd be helpful.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life?
Okay, so wouldst thou have that? We need to be careful of that. So while we're boosting, we probably should duck a little bit there.
Wouldst thou have that?
Oh, I'll do better.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life? And live a...
And then I'm going to have to get and live and I promise you what happens next is very loud, so we'll pull it down at next.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life? And live a coward in thine own esteem?
So we need to pull coward in thine own esteem down now, but the rest is good.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life? And live a coward in thine own esteem?
So let's just double check on this here. That's going to be a little harder to grab than I might want to. If you want to look at your automation, it's super dope. I'm just going to grab this here. We'll pull this down, and this little cool little triangle right here opens up these show envelopes, and from there you can see all of your cool automation, which is totally dope. Let's see here now. Let's see if we can find the culprit bits.
Live a coward in thine own esteem.
You can see it really big right here. Coward.
Live a coward in thine own esteem.
Now here's where, I've got the overall volume right using faders and automation. Here's where keyframes can be super, super helpful. I'm just going to click on these couple here, and I'm just going to drag them down a little bit.
Live a coward in thine own esteem.
And then own the same. And I'm holding shift so that I can select more than one of these. And then I'm going to bring this down just a little bit as well. I'm probably going to bring this one up over here. Let's see how this goes.
A coward in thine own esteem.
Too much. You can hear it kind of pulsing now. Let's try this. And what's really fun about this is that if we go back to that other window, you'll see the fader doing this exactly, which is super.
A coward in thine own esteem.
Not bad. And then I'll just take this for a second since we're here. Bring this up because I'm missing the M on own esteem.
In thine own esteem.
There we go. All right, so cool. Let's zoom back. I'll show you this fader thing. Check this out.
In thine own esteem.
It's like, wow, I'm doing this thing. So cool.
It gets fun when you have a hardware-controlled mixer and with motorized faders. So you can sit there and do the same thing you're doing with the mouse there, but you're actually touching a real knob. But then when it's playing back the automation, those things are going...
You're flying all over the place.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And one of the great things about Audition is that it uses the Yukon format.
Supports Yukon, supports Mackie Huey, MCU, supports Persona's fader port, supports several other. Most of them are most systems you can get will support Mackie emulation, Mackie mode. So just about every control surface and mixer out there, you can control both Audition and Premiere with it.
I didn't know it controlled Premiere. That's totally dope.
We have the same control surface engine in Premiere. Audition has exposed a few more parameters that are more focused for audio and a few more protocols than Premiere has. But you can use the same control surface. You can Alt-Tab, do your basic mix in Premiere, go to Audition, use it over there.
Wow.
It's pretty
so
fantastic.
Dope. So this is what I'm doing now is just general fader dialogue mixing. I'm not comparing it with any other sources. I'm just getting it to a general flat, easy to listen to place. So nothing's jumping out. Yesterday we showed you how to do a lot of this with compressors. Sometimes though, especially on a feature film level mix or a cinema mix where you have to have maximum dynamic range, hitting your dialogue with a lot of compression is a bad idea. Not only does it add a lot of sibilance and background noise, but it kind of starts crushing the voice in a way that doesn't really serve us, especially as we need to move to more compressed mixes like your Blu-ray or your DVD, and certainly not at your internet level where everything's getting compressed. So sometimes doing, contouring the voice with easy fader moves is better and more seamless than using an automated source. Let me see what else we got
And
here.
I know esteem. I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
Prithee, peace.
She actually, even though she's loud on stage, we're going to help her just a little bit by just adding a little bit. I know I'm using keyframes after showing you automation.
And not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
Prithee, peace. I will do all that would become a man. Who dares do more is none.
That's good. He's actually nice and easy, and one of the reasons for that is because he's close to the microphone and he's not having to yell and all kinds of things, so his general dynamic range is very low. We probably don't have to do anything with him. His compressor's doing most of the work. You may have noticed, if you listen carefully, when she gets loud, there's a reverb.
Wouldst thou have that?
Let me find it here.
A coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
And you're like, man, that room you're in is so reverberous. Why would you have ever chosen it? Well, it was kind of reverberous, but not that reverberous. I'm going to turn off or mute all of the reverbs that we have running to dialogue right now, which includes a mono reverb. That's this one here, which is in mono. And you're like, a mono reverb? Mark, I was on your show yesterday, and you poo-pooed mono reverb 100%. Why would we, what is this heresy? Right. One of the tricks I learned as a re-recording mixer, actually mixing at Michael Lehman Boddicker Studio Soul 7, was when you make little edits, little teeny edits in your dialogue, a lot of people use room tone to fix it, and that's okay, but it always seems false. You're never going to get those edit points just right. It always little bumpy things. But if you add a really short reverb, I mean really short, and make it mono, especially in 5.1, since the dialogue's coming out of the center channel only anyway, you can get away with a little bit of reverb that helps move, kind of heal. You're a, what's the word?
Smooth.
Smooth, I'll take. Smooth the seams. I was trying to make a sewing reference.
Oh.
You know what I mean. You got it. Smooth the seams of the edits and of the dialogue itself sometimes from weird things that might happen. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we've muted the dialogue, muted the reverbs.
A coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
That's dry. We're also using a de-reverb plugin. I mean, it is dry as a bone. It's awful.
A coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
Terrible. I'm going to turn on the mono reverb. Check it out.
A coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
That's just mono, yo. Mono.
That's pretty good. It's crazy.
It's pretty good. And since her direct sound is mono and that mono reverb is there, just really subtle. If you hear it, it's wrong. Then you've got a really, really great seam, a smoothing seam thing going on, and it helps a lot. In a second, but not yet, we're going to talk about what's happening in the left and right surrounds, but we have to, unfortunately, get very serious right
You
now.
have to get very serious. I seriously want to say that's an amazing tip. I didn't know that. Oh. I learned something today.
Awesome.
I learned something every day this week, but that's the first thing I learned today. Yeah. What else did I learn? That I have to give up this wonderful, wonderful bag.
Nose roll.
Yeah, nose roll. The prizes just get better and better. This isn't fair. So, if you're in the chat room, if you've been chatting and posting great, amazing things and hyping this up, I've been watching you guys get all excited about this bag. I'm excited to give it away to somebody.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Do you want to do the honors of reading who the winner
No,
is?
you're good. I'll do the roll.
You'll do the roll. Oh, yeah. No, nose roll, please. Today's winner and the last winner of the giveaway for the week, Christina Veronica. Woo! Christina Veronica, this is your bag. I'm so jealous. I hope it makes it. I hope it doesn't come home with me. I'm just saying.
Totally.
Congratulations, Christina Veronica. And we've still got just less than an hour on that challenge submission. So if you haven't got started yet, go download Character Animator very quickly. Go get those assets. You can get them right off the Challenges tab next to the streaming video. And we want to see those videos come in. I'm refreshing the page. I don't see anything yet. Don't let me down, folks. I'm very serious about this. All right. Let's stop being serious.
Okay. Back to fun we go.
Yep.
Cool.
Glug, 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 glug.
Some of you have noticed this reverb I'm using. It's a native reverb. It's called the convolution reverb. And you're like, well, what reverb is that? It's just custom. What is that? Is there a custom setting? No. There's these amazing presets that you can use. They sound great. And there's these amazing convolutions that you can use as well, which is amazing, from the department of the redundancy department. And the thing I'm using here is an actual impulse response from the room that we shot in. Well, what's an impulse response? Can you tell them what an impulse response is?
An impulse response is just a short, sharp sound that captures the reverb of the space. And reverb effects, convolution effects can use that to then inform what the reverb might sound like on every other sound. I was able to fake it once. We had a recording of that was recorded in one of Napoleon's mansions.
What?
And it was this huge, spacious room, and it was this wonderful thing. And they needed to do a little bit of ADR. One of the words that was being spoken wasn't captured clearly, or it was mumbled, or something like that. So they had a re-recording just in the studio, and we were able to find a small section of the recording where somebody had stepped rather close to the microphone with a hard-heeled shoe on the floor.
Wow.
And we had this crack, and we used that as the impulse response for the convolution reverb, plugged it onto the ADR'd word, single word, dropped it in, adjusted the levels a little bit, and you couldn't tell the difference. It was amazing.
Wow. Can you use the clap like this?
You can use a very sharp clap. You can use a lot of times what the professionals will use is a starter pistol.
Oh, yeah,
Bam!
right.
Anything that's just a very loud, sharp sound that causes a little bit of air to move in that space and causes that reverb to happen. Even if it's almost imperceptible to you, you can use that in the effect to really start to modify and make other recordings sound as if they belong in that space.
What we did was do exactly what he's suggesting. We did a big bass clap like this, I think, in our room. And what I was just doing here is how do you get that? How do you input that into the convolution reverb? It's simple as load. You're not actually loading presets. You're actually going to load your impulse response. And then this was actually the impulse response that we used, and we loaded it. And now that becomes the sound in this plugin. And it's so amazing, especially for those of you who do post-production, where you're like, man, I really wish if I had to do ADR, how do I mimic the sound of the room that they're in, especially in this mono reverb technique? Well, you just do an IR when they say, hey, here's the room tone, and we record for 30 seconds. You freak them out at the end of your 30 seconds or 60 seconds by going like this. And they're like, what? What just happened? I'm like, shut up, relax, go back to work. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. See if I can find this. Copied files, merge, where am I at? Mix files, no, I want impulse responses. Let's see if this will play. You can hear that? Yeah, that's actually the impulse response to the room. We were there doing this, recorded it, and we dumped it in here, and all of a sudden,
A coward, and I know esteem.
that reverb is the reverb of the room as recreated in the convolution reverb.
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
Warned. This will use a lot of your computer resources, so you may need to use pre-render. It's pre-render, right?
Track pre-render.
Track pre-render. If it gets too much, but it's such a useful resource. Now that's the mono reverb. Let's check out.
Can I mention for a minute what track pre-render is? On audio tracks, there's a little lightning bolt in
This
the
little
effects
thing right
group.
there.
That's the one. And what that does is if you have a lot of effects and a lot of automation, that it's potentially at some point it's maybe starting to cause your playback to bog down a little bit. Your system just can't keep up with all the DSP, with all the math, with all the changes. You can enable this track pre-render, and what Audition will do is that under the hood, behind the scenes, on one of your spare CPU cores, it will just render that track out to a little wave file, little temporary wave file underneath. And so that when you hit play, it will just be playing a single wave file and won't be doing all this calculation, and you'll be able to really load up the rest of your project with a whole bunch of effects, a lot more automation. Now, what's special about this is everything remains dynamic, except for that little lightning bolt icon being lit up. You can open, you can adjust every other effect, you can make some changes, and once that change happens, Audition will just very quietly go ahead and redo it under the background. You don't have to pay attention. You set it once, forget it, and it really just continues to help you with the whole rest of the project, really help along keeping your performance high.
Awesome. So let's take a look at the other two reverbs that we're using. And I'm going to open this. This is the surround pattern. And some of you may not have seen this before. Left, center, right, right surround, and left surround. Now some of you are like, well, the puck's in center. I mean, it's all center. I'm like, well, no, because this is a stereo bus. And you can see that it's pointed both at the left and the right. And then if we look at this reverb bus for dialogue, it's going kind of more monaural to the back. So these two reverbs give a front and a back fill. I'm using the same convolution, but just with longer settings so that it doesn't interfere with that mono one. Let's take a listen.
A coward, and I know esteem. Letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
It's a little more stereophonic. If you're not listening on headphones, it's going to be hard for you to tell exactly how wide it is because your laptop, unless you put the laptop up to your face, you won't really notice. When we put them all together...
A coward, and I know esteem. Letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
And we talked about how to get the sound to buses in yesterday's bit, so I'm not going to jump into how we've routed it, except to say you can see here we've got sends. Where's her channel? Right there. I keep losing my place. We've got send 1 is going to dialogue mono, send 2 is going to dialogue verb 1, which is the front channels, and send 3 is going to the dialogue very little to the dialogue verb surrounds. And all of the dialogue channels have this kind of situation. All of these reverbs are being routed to the dialogue bus, and then they're all being controlled over on the dialogue bus master. And let me just show you one cool thing about that. Since they are all being routed over here, we can take their dialogue when we're doing mastering, say at the end,
A coward, and I know
and we can use this parametric EQ and change all the dialogue, including the reverb if we want.
A coward, and I know esteem. Letting I dare not wait upon
Or make it darker.
Prithee, peace.
Anything we want, and we can automate it. So if a few lines, or if we cut to a scene and you're like, wow, I want the dialogue to be really bright, you can just literally automate that high frequency shelf. And it'll go dink, come up, and then dink, come down without that sound. And you can have that kind of control.
I don't know. You like your sound effects.
I know I do.
Transition sound effects.
It's true. I love those.
Dink, dink.
I know. It's terrible. I'm kind of an addict to that stuff. Speaking of sound effects, do I have any sound effects in this part? I don't. And we can talk about everything we want to talk about with Foley. There's a ton of Foley in here. So let's solo the Foley bus, which is up here. When I solo this, the masters go hot and all the Foley and Foley reverbs go hot. Let's take a look at this. Where'd my video go? I lose my video so often. Hi, welcome back. Let's make this large. Take a listen to this. Oh, let's go back a bit. Lots of earrings. That's just Foley. Just stuff that human beings are creating on scene. And we've got a bunch of that. If you don't know it's there, sometimes you forget. You're like, well, where's the Foley? Well, it's right here. So let's take a look here. I'm going to actually unsolo all tracks and just do one track at a time.
Should we take a moment and explain why Foley exists?
Go ahead, yeah.
I mean, literally on set, we tend to capture just the dialogue, and
Right.
everything else gets removed because you have to. In post, you need to do so much work with the dialogue. If there's a lot of other sounds getting recorded, then it makes that job much more difficult.
And microphones are usually never positioned for dialogue in a place or at a type where this kind of sound gets picked up very well at all.
Right. So all of the sounds that are not somebody speaking are generally created after the fact, and they're created by Foley artists, named after the guy who originated it. I don't remember his first name, Mr. Foley.
Mr. Foley will work.
Yeah, that'll work. And
Jack.
And so there's amazing. You can just learn. Go watch videos. Go read books on how Foley is done, because a lot of times when you're recording something, it doesn't sound like it. We actually hear it when we're in real life. So there's all kinds of tips and tricks to make things sound like something else. So
I've got a better idea.
Yeah, tell
You can go to cinemasound.com and we show you how to do all of it in your closet with a little bit of hardware build. Almost without exception, you can do all the Foley that you want in your closet. It's fun. You get dirty. It's time intensive at first, but did I mention it's fun?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted
Oh, okay,
to
great.
interject.
Cool. No, it's an equal opportunity aircraft.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to pilot? Here, please sit down. All right, here's some jewelry. So it's just, simple jewelry while her earrings are working. Here's some of Becky's footsteps, which is cool. Here's Josh's footsteps. And you're like, why does Josh have any footsteps? Well, watch him closely. And in the next scene, he's turned around. So we had to move him, even though he's off camera. It seems weird to your subconscious if you don't hear his footsteps turning himself around. And that's the kind of stuff that, the amateur filmmaker or someone who hasn't understood how this works, those mistakes that can be made. What else have I got here? Oh, then the cloth, this thing, which is way too loud. We're going to fix that in a second. Oh, he's got some clothing in here. Oh, yeah, of course, there's all of that when he grabs her hand. And then there's the slap and these kinds of things. I'm going to wait to do the Foley mix until we go and get the ambiences in, because the ambiences have to go in right after the dialogue. If you don't do that, you'll be fooling around with your mix the whole time until you get it right. The ambiences, which we're going to look at next, are really the primary function of sound immersion for your audience. If you don't have ambiences in there, your audience is going to constantly be looking at their watch, or they'll never feel like they were there. And for you podcasters, we talked about this yesterday, how important having ambiences are in your podcast, not just room tone, but an actual feeling of ambience, not loud, very, very low, so low that you barely hear it. Let me show you why. Let's go down here. We're going to skip music for a second. Let's do ambiences. And that's probably really hard for you to hear. Right? It's just junk going on in the room, which you're like, that just sounds like hiss to me. I know, it's crazy. But if you took 5 seconds and turned off the volume for us for just a second and listened to what's going on in your own environment, you'll hear a lot of the same kind of thing. These are the channels that are going to the front speakers. You can see they're on the front here in the little surround panner coolie thing. Here's the other ambience we're using, which is very low. That's them talking in the other room. They're talking in the other room. Notice something about, for those of you who are listening on headphones, what happens on the scene cut. Oops. Turn back up. Every time the camera changes position, that specific ambience, which is part of the scene, has to change too in pan. So it's a lot of work to get anything where you're like, wow, here's a scene and we're on the beach and we're looking at the water. Well, what happens when you do the reverse? Does the water stay? No, you have to pan it to the surrounds, and you have to do that cut by cut by cut by cut. Otherwise, your audience goes, there's something really wrong here. I feel like I'm being messed with, and they don't really like that too much. What else have I got in here? Let's turn off this.
Reverb Mike in the chat room knows the term, walla.
Walla.
Loves the walla.
You're absolutely right about that. Okay, so we have front and back ambiences. There is a third ambience in here. What is this? Let's check it out.
Dare not wait.
Let's not mute it. Oh, yes. And you're like, Mark, they're indoors. Why are there crickets sounding like they're outdoors on the indoor? Well, have you ever been in a house at night in the woods, or even not in the woods, in the city? Those crickets are chirping away, but they're outside, but you still hear them. So if you notice, I'm going to go back to the mix window here, scroll over to the ambiences. I've added a parametric EQ, and I've rolled off those high frequencies, which is kind of what your walls and your windows would do. It's also very, very low. These ambiences are very, very low in the mix to give you this kind of, hey, we're really there. Altogether, I've just turned this way, way up. Also, these are in the surround speakers. They're in the rear.
Dare not wait upon I wanted to pour out in the adage.
Prithee, peace.
I turned them way too far up. Now it's a scene with crickets. Welcome all. All right, let's come back up here.
It's important, though, to really realize how many layers of sound we're hearing at any one time. I think the first day we discussed, and I know in Cinema Sound it's discussed, that at any moment our brain is processing 7,000 different impulses. And we filter 99.9% of those out for whatever we're focusing on. But they're still there. They're still informing all the rest of what we experience and what we sense. So it's incredible. Somebody in the chat room mentioned how much patience audio people must have to put this stuff together. But it's important because that's what gives everything that immersion, that feeling, even if you don't, especially if you don't notice it. If you watch a movie and you go away and you thought, wow, that's an amazing movie, and you didn't notice all that work, that's unfortunately for a lot of folks, that's the mark of a good audio designer. In that it's so subtle that you just feel you're there, and there's nothing stands out as being crafted. It's just that's the environment.
It's the mystery of sound design and music also. A really great score is usually not heard, it's just felt. And you can walk away hearing the melody, humming rather the melody, but you don't really know how it got in there, but it did get in there. All right, cool, this is great. Let me just turn up the ambiences all together. That's the Foley. I just turned up the wrong one. Here's the ambience bus. Yeah, I've automated it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it up here so you can hear how loud it when it's way too loud.
Dare not wait upon I wanted to pour out in the adage.
Prithee, peace.
Those crickets are still so loud. I got too excited about the crickets. It's one of the real fallacies, the real thing, the traps, not fallacies, traps that you get into as an audio mixer is that you're like, I love these ambiences so much. I really want to hear them. Wrong answer. You really don't. If you're hearing your ambiences in a mix, they're way too loud. Foley's almost the same way. So here, let's just listen to these ambiences loud.
Dare not wait upon I wanted to pour out in the adage.
Prithee, peace. I will do all that would become a man.
And then where there should be.
Dare not wait upon I wanted to pour out in the adage.
Prithee, peace.
They're there just super subtly, and probably over the streaming process and listening to these microphones, they're adding their own ambience to this mix, but you get the idea. All right, now let's just take a little quick, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on your headphone cable.
That's all right.
A little quick gander here about what's going on with this music score. Whoops, wrong way. I want to listen to music only. Now, there's a bunch of stuff here. These are the stems. Let's zoom in, see if I can get a better waveform here. Right now, what's playing is the harp. But let's go back. I want to show you something cool that you probably didn't catch before. Right. And that is this source music that's happening. And that source music is, where's my source music? There it is. Hi. It's super quiet. It's over here. Well, for you, it's over there. And it's on the same pan. We copied the pan information from that Walla track in Adobe Audition because we only wanted to do it once. We copied and pasted all that scene cutting pan information to this track so that wherever that Walla goes, which is where the music is, it's being panned around at the same time, which is super dope. So what happens is we have to find a way to get out of this, dramatically, get out of this Walla source music and the background band and get into the underscore, as they get more intense, our two actors. We want to get out of that kind of source music and into the drama. So one of the ways we do that is, again, with automation, and I've already done this. Let's see, this I have to be bigger here. Am I in the right thing? This is the source music. I'm on pan. Just take a look here in the mixer window, make sure I know where that went. Yep, there it's going down. And if I unsolo, and the harp.
Wait upon I wanted to pour out.
Actually, I'll just turn on the music all again. You'll watch it in the wonder of automation. There we go. So here's the source music bit here. It's still going, but slowly coming down while the music cue is in. And now it's done. So we subtly we dump the source music, because the purpose of source music is to create immersion, just like Foley and ambiences anyway. Once that's really not required, and the music drama is far more interesting, like this music that's happening here, that's when we can just dump it. Otherwise, it completely competes. I'll show you what I mean. I'll leave the source music up. I'll just grab it here. It just really kind of kills any of the emotional stuff that you want going on. You're like, oh, but I have to have my source music in there. No, no, you don't. When the underscore comes in, duck out any other music that's going on in the background. And that can be the song that you want to bring in, whatever dramatic use of music is required, source music has to go. That's my personal view on it. And you do it, just pull the fader down. You don't have to use any EQ tricks or anything like that, just ratchet it down. Okay, do we have any questions yet? Otherwise, I'm going to get into the mix process.
Not a lot of questions. I will note really quickly, put on the business nose, that there's just about a little over a half an hour left in the challenge submission. So far, I checked the room. We've got one. Aaron uploaded a video. Wanted to mention to you that it's the first time they've ever played with Character Animator and Media Encoder. So
awesome.
First timer, you know. I took a little look at the thumbnail. It looks awesome. It's very 80s. I'm very into it. But we'll get everybody else, get your videos uploaded up there so we can take a look. Mark's going to judge them at the end. I'm going to provide color commentary, and someone's going to win that Creative Cloud Prize.
Awesome.
All right, Nose is Off.
Nose is Off.
That was a great Broadway play, by the way. Nose is Off.
Nose is Off.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think it's playing in LA right now.
Is it?
Noises. Noise is Off.
Oh, see, I saw the parody.
Oh.
I saw the parody.
Well, Noise is Off is pretty funny.
Nose is Off wasn't. It was a very serious clown drama.
Death drama, clown drama. Oh, man. Okay. You're with the Dern and Mark show. All right, so we've got this stuff. We've analyzed, we've taken a look at what we have. What are our elements? The three things you have to keep in mind when you're doing a mix are, well, the thing you have to keep in mind when doing a mix is which of the three elements of sound do you want to be preeminent, or just dominant? Not predominant. Which one do you want to have dominant in your audioscape? Dialogue is for story. Sound effects, Foley, ambiences are for immersion. Excuse me, music is for emotion. Don't get complicated. That's the best. That's what they do best. Yeah, they do a lot of other things too, but dialogue is your story. Sound effects, ambiences, Foley, immersion. Music is your emotion. You can't have all three loud. It just doesn't work. Something has to give. You have to have a dominance to one or the other. Now, dialogue is always going to win when there is dialogue. But when there isn't dialogue, or when you can really manipulate your audience well by saying, oh, I really want to move them with emotion instead of with sound effects or immersion, and vice versa. So let's take a look at what we have here. Let me find a good starting place. Once again, I've kind of lost my cue point.
From this time, such I account thy love.
We can go here.
But thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire. Wouldst thou have that which thou...
Okay, so there's a lot of dialogue here that we need to keep strong, and I think we're in a good place with that. It's sounding fine. We balanced it earlier. What we need to deal with now is, hey, the entrance of the music, we need to deal with that because it's a little funky, because she does her jacket or shawl, or whatever that is, comes off at the same time, and the shing of the cymbals mutes it, and we don't really hear this. We just hear the shing of the cymbals. And also the Foley is kind of in a wacky place, and the ambiences probably could come up. So how do we start? Well, we'll just start somewhere. Let's mute the music for a second. Let's see if we can get the rest of this sounding great, and then bring the music back in and see if we can finish this before 9 o'clock tonight. That was supposed to be funny. Okay. Wow. Whew. It's like that, folks.
From this time such I account thy love. What thou hast feared, to be the same in thine own act and valor.
See how you don't really hear her footsteps? She starts moving and you're like, what? What's happening? Why? So we're going to grab this whole Foley bus. Remember, we've routed all the Foley to this bus channel, and we can put this into touch automation just like we did before. And once she starts moving, we can just bring the Foley up. Let's try it.
From this time such I account thy love.
In fact, I might bring it up a little earlier anyway.
What thou hast feared, to be the same in thine own act and valor, as thou art in desire.
It's not bad. We probably could use a little more, maybe. Let's see.
From this time such I account thy love. What thou hast feared,
Here she goes.
to be the same in thine own act and valor, as thou art in desire.
And that glass put down is probably a little much, so we'll grab it. But the rest of it's working now. Let's see.
From this time such I account thy love.
It'll do its automation for me up to this point.
Thou hast feared,
We'll grab it halfway through, right before she
be
puts
the
the thing
same in
down.
thine own act and valor, as thou art in desire.
Let's make sure that's actually on the Foley track. It might be actually in the dialogue track. Let's see
From this
here.
time such I account thy love.
Sometimes sounds end up in strange places, especially if they're from set.
To be the same in thine own act and valor.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
that's right in the middle of her dialogue track. So in this case, it'll be easier to use keyframes just to duck that for a second. So we're gonna go back. This is great. it's sort of fun. Not when you're under a deadline is it fun, but it's sort of fun. You're like, wow, that's such a great sounding Foley sound. And you actually were able to capture it.
To be the same in thine own act and valor.
So it's in here somewhere. Looks good right there. In fact, my guess is we can use this clip thing here. This is called a clip. My brain.
Volume.
Thank you. Wow, Lewis.
Volume envelope.
Lordy. There we go. And hopefully we can get in and out of it in such a way that it doesn't sound like it's ducking. It's a little too much. You can hear the background ambiences kind of duck a little too much. Okay. And you'll notice this little thing here that's happening because this is in track pre-render.
Good.
It's doing its thing. Pre-track rendering. 3-track pre-rendering. Cool. Option. Here we go. Let's see how it
As thou art.
Cool. In context now.
To be the same in thine own act and valor. As thou art in desire.
Yeah. And there's so many ways in Adobe Audition to change volume. First is using keyframes and the automation. Next, you have clip volume. Next, you can go into the Essential Sound panel and fool around with that and get a different, right? Another whole layer of outside of that control. All right, so this is good. We're going to keep going here for a second.
Feared, to be the same in thine own act and valor. As thou art in desire. Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemed the ornament of life?
I'd love more of her earrings. I love those earrings so much. So we're going to come over here to the earring thing, which is Foley jewelry right here. It's already armed for touch.
Feared, to be the same in thine own act and valor.
Bring it up a bit.
As thou art in desire. Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemed the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
Cool. And now you can hear those earrings, and you're like, man, this is subtle stuff. This is crazy. There's so little. Why does it matter? Well, you'll see. We're going to plug in a couple more things here, and then you'll see all of it come together, and you'll be like, wow, that's an immersion. That is, otherwise, if you don't do this kind of level of work, it sounds like a student film. It feels like a student film, and more importantly, it looks. People will say it looks like a student film, which nobody ever wants to see or hear coming from their audience. All right.
Feared,
One more time. Anything we want to fix?
be the same in thine own act and valor. As thou art in desire.
I think I'd like to add to those footsteps just a little more reverb. And one of the great things about Adobe Audition, where are we here? My Foley, where did it go? Oh, it's way over. Did I lose my mind? Oh, there it is these sends make it so easy to do. Footsteps are a little bit higher. There they are. Here's that Foley.
Feared, be the same in thine own act and valor.
And there's actually no reverb going there, so we want to select, let's see what happens if we just turn this up.
Fiat.
How loud it can be.
To be the same in thine own act and valor.
Way too much.
Oh, it sounds like my old school, my
Yeah.
junior high school.
But at least you know it's there. Let's engage automation. We'll say touch, and then we'll just kind of wing it.
Fiat. To be the same in thine own act and valor. As thou art in desire.
I'm going to leave it up here for a
Wouldst
second.
thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of
Because she's
life,
going to step to him in a second.
and live a coward in thine own esteem,
Yep.
letting I dare not wait upon I one like a poor cat in the adage.
Prithee.
There it was, and we bring it down. Cool, so we just added a little reverb using the touch feature and automation. We've got all this control, right? We've got an incredible amount of control to be able to manipulate all these bits. Let's bring the music back in. You've all been waiting so patiently. Where's that emotion? We're tired of watching this scene. I know. Watch this. Okay, so here's that source music coming in.
Fiat.
You can hear it.
Be the same in thine own act and valor, as thou art in desire.
So that's the part that we want to fix. The shawl comes off. We've been loving it coming off, but once that music comes in, the cymbal, watch it again. I'm going to get it a little tighter here for us.
As thou art in desire.
Here, there's a cymbal. Maybe you're not actually. It's probably. I'll just solo the music. You'll hear. You hear that cymbal in there?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have stems, meaning individual tracks of all the little elements, you're kind of foobar. If you just had a mix, what you have to do is duck the music, which is the worst idea. But since we have the percussion on individual tracks, we can just duck the percussion, leave the rest of the emotion of the music in. All right, so let's go like this. We're gonna listen and let's find where the cymbal tracks would be. My guess is it's on orchestra effects or metals. How about metals? Is that where it is? Probably not. The fader's down there. Let's see.
As thou art in desire.
Ah,
There it is.
that's the choir.
What's-
Well, that's the choir. Is it in the choir track? That would be weird. One more time.
As thou art in desire. Wouldst
Oh, we've got this running. Watch this. This will cure it. I bet you I've already fixed it. Yeah.
as thou art in desire.
Yeah. We were actually listening to a stereo mix version of it. So I've already fixed it for you, but let me show you the difference. I'll just show you what I had done before. The fader was up here.
As thou art in desire.
You can hear it. In fact, I'll turn it way up and you'll hear the difference.
As thou art in desire.
That's the sound. It's a cool musical element. But if we can duck it, then that solves everything. Our
As
Foley
thou
is
art
saved.
in desire. Wouldst thou have that?
And then again, once I leave the fader alone in touch mode, it brings it back to where it was before. So now,
As thou art in desire.
her shawl is great. Let's do the music mix now. We'll put the master music fader into touch mode.
As thou art in desire. Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I one like a poor cat in the adage.
Prithee, peace. I will do all that would become a man.
So it's good up until the flutes come in. Let me show you. Some of you
As
are like,
thou
the music was
art
too
in
loud.
desire.
We're good.
Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I one like a poor cat?
The rest of the music is okay, but right there it's not. And so we have these stems, we have the woodwinds just here. We will put them into touch, and we will drop them only for that moment.
As thou art in desire.
It helps to know the music, which you'll
Wouldst
get
thou
used to.
have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I one like a poor cat in the adage?
And we release,
Peace.
and it returns it back to where it was. So music mixing becomes so easy in Adobe Audition when you have stems. You can also add EQ to it, all kinds of other things like this. So now we have a mix that's sounding pretty good. I'm going to check one other thing, and that's ambiences, and then I'm going to turn it back over to questions or whatever else we've got going
Fantastic.
on. Let's just double check where our ambiences are. My guess is they're a little low.
As thou art,
Let's bring them up just a little bit.
as thou art in desire, wouldst thou have that which thou esteem'st the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat in the adage.
Prithee, peace. I will do all that would become a man. Who dares do more is none.
And what I was doing there is pulling the ambiences down as the music got louder. We can't have ambiences loud and music loud. It just doesn't work. Can't have ambiences, Foley, and sound effects loud and music loud. So as the music got loud, the ambiences, much like that source music, is just going to get in the way. And we want the music to be able to move emotions as much as possible. So we bring that ambience down as the music comes up, and as the music comes up, then we can, music comes down, we can bring the ambiences in to fill in. So that's, in a large format mix, kind of how we go about getting things to the right place in terms of volume.
You've added you added reverb to the dialogue. Would you add reverb to the ambiences, or would you use the natural recording of the space that you captured?
That's a great question. I rarely use reverb on ambiences because the purpose of a reverb, reverb really does is elongate the decay of something or make it sound like it's in a space. Well, the ambience itself, since it's just steady, hopefully, doesn't really need reverb
space.
Unless you wanted to create a space that felt like a cave, you know, and then you would add a ton of reverb, some kind of stereo or surround reverb, if you were in that kind of mode, and then it would feel bigger. But ideally, the ambiences are dry and sound great on their own.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, please put some questions in the chat room for us if you've got any questions. You've gone over a whole bunch of material.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming if nobody's asking questions, then y'all are masters of this, and all of your videos are going to come out sounding Hollywood ready, Oscar nominated. If not, put some questions in. I know Mark loves answering questions. There is about 16, 17 minutes left in the challenge submission time frame. So if you, we got to get serious. If you want to win that Creative Cloud subscription, 12 months of Creative Cloud, everything that Creative Cloud has to offer, from Audition, but you can also use Premiere, you can also use Character Animator, After Effects, Photoshop, InDesign, XD, on and on, Dreamweaver, everything that's in there. Creative Cloud, it's a good value, and if you get your submission in there, you get it for free. So it's an infinitely good value. If I check the room, we're still we've got a new submission. So we have 2 submissions. That's let's make it tough. Let's get some more in there and make it hard on Mark. This is his last day.
My last day.
He's only got about 45 minutes left.
What?
So let's make it really, really tough on him and send in some great submissions, hilarious cartoons. We're sound people, so please don't hesitate to put some sound in. And if you add a little something that maybe you learned today or yesterday, all the better. Okay, I'm gonna top that
That
up.
is so awesome. Mine doesn't make that noise.
You gotta get one of these kind of noses.
I don't get one of those.
No.
Let's talk about Tracks Panel.
Tracks panel.
I just learned about this today from Duran. This is so dope. If you have a large mix, like this is no small mix, right? There's a few channels. You can see all the little channels here. You want to be able to, basically view a great organization of your tracks so that you're not having to scroll through everything. Like if you did have 150 sound effect tracks, you don't want to also have to scroll through the music tracks and the dialogue tracks to just work on sound effects. You could create a track situation that would help you in whatever discipline you're working on. So check this out. If you go Windows, tracks.
That's the one.
Look at this thing. What is this? I'm going to zoom in. This is a representation of all the tracks in your session, including buses and output. Everything is here in this little miniaturized version. And you can see this little eyeball looking thing. I'm going to zoom out and zoom up, make sure I'm at the top. If I don't want to see the tone track, I can just do that. What just happened? I can turn it on and off. In fact, I can shift select all of these tracks and turn them on and off, and at liberty. And what's really dope is you can save presets of these things. So right now I have a preset set up for all tracks, but let's say I wanted to look at all the tracks that are dialogue only. What I can do, I'm going to select the dialogue bus, and then I'm going to it's Command for Apple and Control for PC folks.
Correct.
These tracks here, I can do this, no problem. I'm going to click on this little happy thing, track visibility, and then I'm going to say, oh, I'm doing this backwards.
You going to save those as a...
I want to save that. I'm doing this.
I'm
doing this backwards.
You sure are.
I'm doing it backwards. I want to select all. I'm going to hit Command or Control All, and then I'm going to click the dialogue tracks, and now I'm going to turn these guys off by clicking on the little toggle eyeball looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I only have dialogue tracks. What? Now I do track visibility, save, and I have 10 or 9 presets I can use. I'm going to say preset 2. Boom. Now, what I want to do, if I want to assign this to a key command, which I totally do, because like I said earlier, the less mouse I use, the faster I go.
Absolutely.
I can go to, where's my thing? There it is. I have it as Option K. And right now I have hold down Shift 1. I've already assigned to the low track visibility 1 preset, 2 presets, 3 presets, 4 presets, 5. So I can switch by holding down 1, Shift 1. It gives me all tracks, or Shift 2, dialogue tracks. And I can do this for sound effects, I can do this for Foley, I can do it for buses only. All of the things that we use in Hollywood. This makes doing track organization so easy, and having 9 presets makes life so dope.
It's
simple.
fantastic. It's important to point out that you're still hearing all those hidden tracks.
That's right.
They're just not visible. You get to focus visually on the items that you want to work on at that moment. But you're not losing anything. You're not hiding elements from the actual mix. So you're still working within the confines or within the completeness of the sound of your project. You're just focusing on what you're working on visually at the time.
Yeah. And when you have a huge mix, it becomes very, very important when you can go fast, especially when you have a client looking over your shoulder and they want to make a sound effects edit, and you got to scroll through a bunch of stuff. You can just go bang, shift number, or whatever key you'd like, and you're there. You can look at any organization, save over them, and it's awesome.
Totes. Totes awesome.
Totes awesome.
Yeah. Totes.
You want to talk?
Like this wonderful bag
Tote.
that Christina won earlier. Totes awesome.
Should we dare do this?
I want to see
I know,
this.
you've been waiting for it.
This is my favorite thing Audition does, hands down.
All right, I'm going to close this session. I'm going to make a new session. Close all. No to all. I'm going to make a new multi-track. New multi-track session. And if you weren't here on Tuesday, it's important. This is just going to be called, I'm going to cheat and call it remix session. You want your sessions to typically be 48 kilohertz or higher. You want it typically almost always, I'm just going to say always 32-bit float, and then you choose if you want it to be mono, stereo, or 5.1. In this case, we're going to do stereo, and we get this cool looking thing. I'm going to close the tracks window. Thank you very much for your service. Take it away. I'm going to pull this music in.
Perfect. So one of the complaints and requests that we got from folks who are editing video projects is they bring in music, but the music that they want doesn't rarely, if ever, match the duration of the video project. So you might have a 5-minute piece of music, but you only have a 90-second video that you, whether it's for social media, maybe it's a 30 or 60-second commercial. You want to get that music in there, and historically, you then have to go through with the razor tool, listen, cut on the beat, listen, cut on another beat, delete this part, bring it back, crossfade, is that right? No, nudge it over, is that right? No, this part was wrong, undo it. You can spend hours and hours just getting 3 or 4 minutes of music down to a minute and a half, or even expanding it out, finding the right places to loop. So what we did was we leveraged a little bit of machine learning and some very intelligent engineers. And we built this feature we call Remix. And what Remix does is it takes any piece of music. It could be your favorite pop song. Could be your favorite techno song. It could be your buddy's garage band surf song that they recorded with a single microphone in the middle of the garage. It could be stock music. It could be your wonderful composition that you created on one of your music applications. Anything. And what it does is it does an analysis of every beat in the song. It does a spectral analysis. It does a harmonic analysis. It does a timbral analysis. It does a source-separated frequency analysis. It does a phase analysis. I think there's more, but I'm running out of fingers.
That's plenty.
It does all of these analyses on each beat, and then it makes a little matrix, a little web, a chart that says this beat can go to this other beat at this level of confidence. Oh, and it does that for every beat in the song. And then what it does is it says, okay, I'm done. What do you want to do? How long do you want this? And you say, I need this song, this duration. And it says, let me think about that. And before you can say, let me think about that, it has recomposed that song. It has picked this passage and this little bit, put them, aligned them into a new configuration, done the crossfades for you, and made a version of that song that's about the same length that you just asked for. And it's amazing. It's as close to magic as I think anything in this application is.
It's
black magic.
Black magic. Ooh, black magic.
Black magic.
Love it. So here's a little piece of music that I wrote a bunch of years ago for a film called Curse of the Shaolin. I'm just going to play the opening a bit in the middle and then show you the ending so you get a vibe. Paco, this may be loud. I've turned this down. Let's just see. Yeah. And it loops. Here's the middle portion. Let's see. That sounds the same. You get the idea. Here's the end. Cool, right? You know, it's got a loop. It's got, you know, a couple of form points. But the director, this is how long? It's a minute and 30, call it a minute 40-ish, a little less. The director's like, this is a great tune, I want to use it, but I need it to be a minute. And you're like, okay. And you know what that means. That means you got to go in here, you got to find the form points, you got to deal with the arrangement, you also have to deal with the key in some cases if the key changes, cut it, crossfades, make sure it's beat accurate, and then hopefully he likes it or she likes it. But in this case, we no longer have to do that. Watch this. I'm going to click on, it's already selected, clip, remix, enable remix. And what happens now is it does pretty much all of its voodoo. And it's going to do its thing, voodoo, voodoo, voodoo. And now look what's, if you're already an Adobe Audition user, you're familiar with this thing. This is the crossfade or fade tool, which we talked about on Tuesday. But if you look at these cool little, they're like
zigzaggy lines.
They're like Zulu lines or Maori. They're Maori.
Maoris.
Maori lines. This is actually remix, so don't be confused. Don't be like, how come it's not doing anything? Well, that's because it's the fades you're grabbing. So let's go here. I'm going to drag, there it says even remix on it. I'm going to drag this to a minute, which is about there. Now, normally you'd be like, oh, this is time compression. This is that kind of thing. Well, we hate time compression. As good as Adobe Audition is at doing time, you know, the stretching thing, as good as it is doing that, we don't want to do that. Now, let me show you this, what's happened here. Zoom in. I'm just
Maybe unselect the clip so you can see the edits.
There
we go.
So there's only one edit that's happened. More Maori squiggly lines here. And it's done an analysis and said, look, this is the best place to chunk out a bunch of stuff, do a little my own crossfade that sounds great, hopefully beat accurate, key accurate, arrangement accurate. Let's see how it does. What?
So as the playhead passes over that little zigzaggy line, we're hearing it blend from one part of the song to the other. Here it comes.
It even got the lyrics right.
It even sounds like, yeah, it blended from one bad to another bad.
I know, it's pretty nuts. But you know what? The director's not happy.
Oh.
The director doesn't like it. He says, look, listen, I need a 45. Okay, well, we're gonna go back to this Maori warrior tribe looking thing. We're gonna put this at 45. Let's see what it does now. Deselect, deselect. Oh, put the edit over here. What's this one? Let's go back. That's just way too good. Go back over here. What's this? It's insane.
It's insane.
But you know what? This director is just not happy. The director wants a bumper. Well, let's try a 20-second. 20 seconds. Well, actually, let's try a 15-second. They really want something
you're
tight.
playing
Woo! Look out now. All right, we're going to
fast and
start. Go
loose.
back to the top. Top. Deselect. If I deselect, there we go.
That's amazing.
What? That's nuts. And the director's finally happy. Yeah. Mind blown.
We just broke Paco.
Oh. So now the director's happy, and it's like, okay, I got my bumpers, but I need something that's 3 minutes long now. And you're like, well, wait a minute, the tune's only 1:40. Well, what am I gonna do now? Well, here we go. We're gonna grab Mr. Maori Warrior Tribe thing. We're gonna come out here like this. We're gonna zoom out even farther.
Just gotta drag it offside.
Oh, do I really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Oh, look
Well,
at that.
you could also go into the properties panel and just type in the exact duration you want there.
That's also so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I said 4 minutes or 3. I said
You
3.
said 3.
Okay, here's 3 minutes. Bang. Let's see what it's done for us here. I'm going to zoom back out. I got 2 edits. 2 edits.
And this is with the default settings.
Yeah, I haven't changed any of the settings. I have, like, you can get in there and make it really, really intense. You can make it do a lot of cuts. In fact, where do I do that? I go here, I go clip, I go remix. I better do this first.
You can just click on the properties panel. It's a little squeezed. It's off
Oh,
to
it's
the side there.
squeezy because I'd squeezed
Yep,
it.
you
There we
squeezed
go.
it.
So I can say, where do I want here? Minimum loop. Let me zoom in.
I would.
What would you say?
So usually, what I like to do is the edit length. So by default, it will try and make as few edits as possible. Make it the longest stretches it can, fewest edits. I tend to, with most material, I drop it in the middle, listen to that, and then I make my decision whether I want to go shorter, more edits, shorter bits, or longer length and less edits.
And
so
that's
the top parameter, edit length.
Edit length.
So I usually just drop it at 50%.
50%.
You'll see as soon as we do that. Now take a look.
Look at all those. Let's check them out. Because I'm having a good time. Are you?
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
I know Paco's dead.
We do have just about a minute and a half to get those challenge submissions in. I'm looking. It looks like we have a new one up there. So we've got 3. It's making your work a little bit harder for you, but I'm really looking forward to that. Okay.
This is just enough time.
We got the business out of the end.
Okay, so this is expanded now, longer than this piece ever is.
Cuts.
Here comes another one. Crazy. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. Now, right now, it's doing a little bit of looping because, hey, man, the piece is only 1 minute, 40 seconds, and we wanted it to be 3, almost twice its length, so it's got to repeat something somewhere. Let's just check this last one. Okay, so it's doing that. It's basically looping it. But if you're doing underscore for a commercial or an infomercial or something like this, this is exactly what you want to be doing. There's no time compression. There's no weird artifacts. It's just bang. And like Duran said, this is default settings, yo. Default. And you can get in there and mess around with it. But what I actually did when I first learned about this, because I didn't believe it, even though I had done it, I'm like, I don't believe this. I took one of my changed keys and no beat at all. It was orchestral and fluid, and I'm like, all right, let's see this. and it found the correct keys and cut between them. It was nuts. And when it couldn't find the correct key, it found the correct chord and connected them. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's worth the entire price of using Adobe Audition just to do this.
I was in a studio in LA about a year ago, and I showed two fellas this in one of the big, expensive, multi-$100,000 studio. And they're both sitting there like this, like they're not going to trust what I'm going to say. And I show them this with a piece of music, and they start whispering among themselves. And I said, whoa, hold on. What are you whispering? And they admitted that they had done the exact same job the day before, manually cutting with the razor tool, finding the clips. They said they spent 6 hours, they billed 6 hours, and they were really sweating that they weren't going to get away with billing 6 hours if everybody else knew about this tool. So,
and Jan, yes, this works with classical music. Like I did it with a cue that was like a dramatic orchestral cue that had multiple keys. Drop in your favorite Mozart. I'm not kidding. Drop in your favorite Mozart and do this, and see if you can't make a bumper out of Mozart piano sonata.
I was at Berklee College for Music in Boston, sharing it with some of the educators there, and again, someone in the back. Yes, but does it work with a Mahler symphony? So we did it. It worked very well.
I bet.
Depended how short I wanted to make it. The 40-second version of the Mahler Symphony was not that great.
Because you got to jump a key.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
But, bringing it down to about 4 minutes was like, well, this is pretty listenable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell Mahler, but...
Well, I don't think he cares. Let's see. Do we want to talk about sound effects? Or do we have to do this or no?
No, we've got some time.
Okay.
Do you want to check out sound effects?
Yeah.
So... one of the little known, it's not
yeah.
even a feature, it's just one of the little known services and benefits of being an Adobe Creative Cloud customer and an Audition user is this almost secret. We've almost hidden it, which is not great for everybody, but it's good for the people who want to use it because they seem like they have this amazing library at their fingertips that nobody else has. But if you're in Audition and you go up to Help, to the Help menu, there's a link there that says Download Sound Effects and More. And that gives you access to over 10,000 really high-quality custom sound effects, all royalty-free. There's sound effects. If you click on the View Downloads, you can see the categories. There's sound effects for nature sounds. There's Foley sounds. There's ambiences. There's animal sounds. If you need that howler monkey hooling in the background, you can get that sound. If you need snarling dogs, if you're making a horror movie and you need scary chains dragging on cement. I know we were talking about horror movies in the chat room earlier. Those sounds are available. You don't have to freak yourself out by trying to go record them yourself. Those things are all available. Beeps and whirs and buzzes and lasers and gunshots and water flowing and waterfalls and car engines and cars driving by and cars crashing. There's so many sound effects. And they're all royalty free. You're free to use them in any of your productions. Download them all. Download just the pieces you need. Keep them in your library. Super valuable, super helpful, and they're free. They're part of your membership.
And for those of you who want and need to get great ambiences or even start using ambiences in your production, these ambiences right up here, they're great. And we've been using them here and there. I mean, we have our own libraries, but they work, they're stereo, and they sound great, especially when you keep ambiences really low. That's where they should be. And for those of you who were on sound advice with me, all the sound effects that Andreas was, almost all the sound effects that Andreas was triggering during the show were from this library.
That's cool. That is cool.
How about...
you know what? I gave you a project. Do you have that on your system? Did we copy that over?
The Premiere?
Yeah, the Premiere project.
That's what I was wondering if you wanted to do.
I want to show that. One of the new features. So in the past, you've always been able to, if you've started to build a project in Premiere Pro, you've always been able to send that sequence over to Audition. And it worked great. But you had to open Premiere, wait for that. Then you'd open the project and wait for that to load. Then you'd select your sequence. Then you'd go up to the edit menu. You have a dialog that you could send that sequence over to Audition, and you could utilize dynamic link, so you didn't have to wait for that video to render. You could just stream that video directly from the Premiere Pro project and the media files. And it was a better workflow than like OMF or AAF. because those either strip out all the effects and all the automation and all the labels and all the metadata and all the hard work the editor and the director put in, all the intention and information they put in to that NLE timeline. It strips it all out. You get audio clips on a track, and you can burn the effects in if you want them. Most of the audio post guys or girls will tell you, do not get me. I do not want you to put your effects in here. But it was so it was a better experience than OMF for those kind of things. But it also created new copies of all your audio files. So all of a sudden you're working with kind of all this project in isolation from your original project. And you had to open Premiere first, when maybe all you wanted to do was get in there, do a mix in Audition, and get it exported out to Media Encoder, get it online, publish it to Facebook, publish it to wherever your destination is. So with this latest release that came out a couple weeks ago, we added the ability to open and import a sequence directly from that Premiere Pro project file. You don't have to open Premiere. You don't even need Premiere.
What?
You do need it if you want to see the dynamic link video stream.
Right.
But if all you're doing is pulling in the project to do an audio mix, you don't even need it. It's really slick. So you've got the project, our little demo project open here in Premiere, and you can see
there's a lot of audio here.
There's a lot of audio. So and I did some color coding on this, so because I like to color code my clips, it helps me visually know what I'm doing. So you can see that the top, if you open the Essential Sound panel back up, we'll show that off while we're here, because everything comes across from Premiere into Audition completely non-destructively. It's as fresh and clean and original as it was in the original Premiere timeline. So all the clips on top, these purple clips, these are all dialogue clips, and you know that because I've already assigned them the role of the dialogue clips in my Essential Sound panel. So if you click on the dialogue button there, you'll see they all get selected.
What?
Isn't that cool? I did the same thing with the sound effects and the music. So everything has already been tagged. And if I did nothing else other than tag these clips, I've now made it easy to quickly select clips of any particular type if I want to then do some other operation.
Amazing.
You can also go in and do the auto match loudness so that if you have no time to do a nice comprehensive mix, but you can select these and say these are dialogue, these are music, and these are sound effects, and auto match. You're going to have a competent. It's not going to be an amazing mix. It's not going to be like what Mark was showing a little bit earlier today, but it's going to be competent. I'm in a rush. I've got 10 minutes to get this video project up onto the net for this promotion, and I need to do it right now, and I need to make the dialogue stand out a little bit more. Quick and easy. It's absolutely amazing. However, you can see on the yellow tracks too, we've actually enabled auto ducking on the music tracks, which is another new feature in Premiere that we brought over from Audition, which we released last year.
So dope. There
and that's nice. It's non-destructive. It's all great. But again, we want to send this to Premiere, so you can close.
Well, let's show them.
I'm sorry, we want to send it to Audition.
We want to send them Audition. Let's show them the way we used to do it.
Yeah.
Which works great too. You go to Edit and Edit in Adobe Audition, and you can say, hey, edit a single clip or the entire sequence. If you say clip only, what'll happen is it'll send the clip to Audition. I'm looking at the screen. I should be looking at the camera. You can send the clip to Audition. You edit it there, and then it will destructively change the audio clip in your Premiere session, which is fine if you want that. If you send the whole sequence over, then the dynamic link process creates a whole new set of audio clips independent from your Premiere session, and all your Premiere session audio stays unchanged, and you do all your work in Audition. So this is the way we used to do it, but watch this. Duran showed me this, and I was like, are you kidding me? So here's the same Premiere session, and I'm going to right-click or control-click.
You could just drag and drop, too.
I see, that's just way too easy.
I know, isn't that slick?
Can I go like this and just with the plus and go like that?
Yep.
And then it says, hey, I've got 2 sessions in here, or 2 projects. Which one do you want? 2 sequences, yeah. Let's use the bottom one. Bam. Wait a minute, what just happened? Here's all my automation. In fact, let's zoom down here. Let's make sure it's all there. The video is here. The mutes are there.
Tracks that were muted. If you open the Essential Sound panel and click on Dialogue, boom.
What?
All the assignments came through. Everything comes across. And what's important to show or to note is it's referencing the original media on disk. It's not copies. It's looking at the original video files and the original audio files.
So that brings up a question. If I open the dialogue track, double click, and I bring it here and I make a change, and I save from here, does this destructively change the Premiere Pro Sessions on dialogue?
It depends on the type of audio file we're referencing. If it's from a video file, we won't change the video file audio stream. So we will make a copy of that file, or at least that segment, and replace it.
What point does that get made?
When you make a change here and hit Command S, then we'll say, okay, we need to work on a copy because we can't change the original video asset. If you're working with sound effects and you come and you make destructive changes in that waveform view and you hit save, we can't overwrite to the original file. There's a way to always kind of cover your backside. You can right click on a clip and say create unique copy.
Yes.
And that will always let you work with a copy of the file. So convert to unique copy right there. So that'll make a copy. It's essentially like a render and replace operation in Premiere. You can then make your changes. If you just butcher it, if you just go in there and hammer away and you wake up the next morning and you're just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You can always just relink it to that original asset and move on and go about your day.
And one of the things we talk about on cinemasound.com in the edit volume, it's like a 15-hour education on how to do editing, audio editing, dialogue cleanup, or dialogue editing anyway, is that when you're doing any kind of destructive work, the most important thing you do first is do convert to unique copy all your files, or take your original files and copy them to a duplicate folder, because I promise somewhere, no matter how good you are, you're going to mess something up or do what you think is great, save, come back the next day and go, what was I doing? This is nuts, I hate it. And if you didn't make a copy, because of the nature of destructive editing, you're kind of foobar.
Well, ideally, because we're all professionals here, we're always working, whether it's in Premiere, whether it's in Audition, whether it's whatever you're using. We're never working with our original media. We're always working with copies. You always want that backup, that source to be protected away from the computer. So if in the event that one of these batteries catches on fire, then you still have all your media. Nothing got lost. I mean, some work may have got lost, but the source media didn't get lost.
We know that as on the filmmaking side, but I am so surprised how many audio and music people don't consider that. They're like, well, I'm never going to go back to that, so I'll just fix it.
Right.
Really, dude? Dudette?
Always save your originals.
Yes.
Back them up.
Absolutely. Cool.
Cool.
This is, I don't know about anybody, so this blew my mind, the ability to just to bring up a Premiere document in Audition and have Essential Sound Panel happen and be able to do basically advanced meta tagging using Essential Sound Panel. That's so amazing. Do we want to, I haven't actually listened to this session, do we want to do any Essential Sound Paneling in here?
Let's worry about our giveaway for a moment.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And then if we've got time, we'll come back to it.
Okay, cool.
It'll be a nice little bonus if we're nice and efficient. But, okay, enough with the jokes.
Enough with the jokes, back to series.
I feel like a new man.
That's good.
I'm going to put this on. All right, well, we have a number of submissions.
Except for the smell of dirty clowns.
I don't know
Like
how much clown goes into these rubber noses, but man, they must put a bunch in here.
That's a lot.
All right, let's take a look. So here's our little placeholder.
Okay.
This is masking the submissions.
Oh, okay.
So let's go to the first one here. Now you're judging, so you pay close attention.
I try.
And please remember, we're very excited to hear these as well as see them.
Am I looking at max headroom right now?
This is what I've been so excited for about like an hour and a half now. This
Matt
is from
Brewer.
From Aaron. Aaron had to leave a little early, but let's take a look.
Wow.
Max headroom. Remember, Boy George? Well,
I don't either.
No, that's pretty.
That dates me so hard.
Yeah, no, I grew up on Max Headroom.
I did too.
The UK version, the series when it came to the US.
Wow.
I loved Max Headroom. That's fun.
Matt Brewer. What happened to Matt Brewer?
He shows up in all kinds of
He
stuff.
does.
Yeah, he shows up from time to time. Really good roles. All right. That was a character. So did they build that puppet themselves? I'm going to assume so, since I think Adobe's a little cheap to buy the rights to Max Headroom. For
I
puppets.
wouldn't know, but
So I'm sorry. No, we're wonderful.
I would, yes.
All right, let's see what we've got next.
Dropped that like a hot
Not
rock.
cheap.
Right
We're frugal.
Frugal.
You know, we
Efficient.
respect the subscriptions that we have.
Respectful.
All right, this is from Sarah. Oh, I'm liking this little fuzzy. Is it a porcupine? Is it a Wolverine? I can't tell. Let's find out.
Hello. I'm gonna do some yoga today. Yeah. I maybe look a little funny. I have something problems with my eyes. Sarah haven't really rigged me all right. It was a little too little time, I think. But, okay. You got that's right. Ooh, yay. I'm really kind of rock person, like Sarah. Bye-bye.
I like the Halo music in the background.
did too.
And the microwave going off in the middle of it, too.
I wish I was that flexible, too. Oh, I'm feeling awfully stiff watching that.
You got a clown nose on here. Okay?
That's true. All right, I believe this is the last one.
Okay.
This is from Ryan. Let's check it out. Here we go.
All right, maybe, maybe we don't make this one 30 seconds long and kill the computer while exporting, all right? Let me get away now, you hear?
All right.
Oh,
Oh, it's still going. But wait, there's more.
But is there?
It's a freeze frame.
All right. Well, I'm going to assume that there's just another 20 seconds of this.
Yes.
All right. Well, Ryan's going for duration.
Duration.
Yeah. He's going for the long one. All right. Well, let me just refresh, make sure I didn't miss something. Oh, he uploaded it twice. Oh, there's a second one here.
Wait, what's this?
Ryan uploaded a second one. Let's check this out. Did you get to enter twice?
Well,
Maybe
is there only one entry fee, or I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, let's find out. That's the full 3 minutes of this version of the song. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to jump ahead.
We're back to freeze
And
frame.
we're back to freeze frame. Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm going to let that one slide, and you'll have two to choose from.
Yes. I think it's Amy. Is that right? The second one?
This one right here,
That's the
Sarah?
one. Oh, Sarah, yes.
Sarah? You're going to choose Sarah Anderson?
I am.
Sounds good to me. That would have been my pick. I really like this fuzzy little guy.
With a fuzzy eye.
Yeah, with the silly eye and the bright red lips.
The lazy eye.
I love the matching sun and the trees. I think this was a fun design, and I agree with you.
Nice.
Good job, Sarah. Congratulations. Yep, Sarah's still in there. Oh, there she is. Excellent. I've done the music. All right, I got to take this stinky clown nose off.
Okay.
Oh.
No
And
sound effect that time? We
it
didn't
doesn't
get it?
even look like I took the nose off. Look at this. Oh, sorry.
Give me stuff so much.
I'm sure in the Adobe, in the Audition sound effects pack, there's a sound
is.
effect for you.
Yes.
So you don't have to do it the old-fashioned way. You put your dirty finger in your mouth.
Oh.
Well, this has been pretty fantastic. We got a couple more minutes, so
Yeah.
why don't we spend that talking a little bit more about the Essential Sound Panel?
Cool.
You're all excited here.
I love it.
I do too. And I'll just give a little background. The Essential Sound Panel came about because we had a lot of video editors and a lot of video-focused folks, and even some beginning audio people coming into Audition the first time, knowing they wanted to do something and not really knowing how to do it. Not knowing where to start, not really understanding what you went to school for and what people are watching 85 hours of video content to learn. And we tried to boil down just the essentials. So, essential sound.
Ha ha.
But it really kind of took the power of the Audition. We're using all of our native DSP, all of our native effects are actually being used under the hood. We've just given them this very simple and very focused front-end workflow so that instead of learning 20 parameters for a reverb effect, or instead of becoming a master of dynamics processing and drawing a curve at the right RMS thresholds for expansion and compression and the input gates and all the settings, it's just simple. It's preset driven. It's less or more. And we've done either through experience and knowledge or through advanced machine learning the hard work for you. So when you apply dynamics to a dialogue clip, we'll analyze every single clip. We'll find the right threshold values. We'll set those parameters, and then it's just as easy as a left and a right to really say, do I want less? Do I want more? And it's consistent across all the clips. It doesn't matter how loud. If this one was louder and this one was quieter, you get a consistent, even sound, and it makes people sound great. It makes projects sound fantastic, and a tenth of the time, if that.
What I like to say is it's the closest thing to the good sound button you're going to get in any digital audio workstation anywhere. You just hit some buttons, hit some sliders, and you're moving on. It's really, really great, especially if you're a director or an editor and you have to deal with sound or clients showing up, and you're not getting the final audio at all. You're getting set audio or something like this. You can do denoise, you can do dynamics, you can do, like he's saying, EQ, everything, and make it sound reasonably okay so the client isn't freaking out about why it looks bad when all it really does is sound bad. You can fix that really fast. So I brought up our session from yesterday because I'm just more familiar with it. Do we need something else to do? Or?
Nope. We're just running short on time. So
okay. Well, how much time do we have?
How much time do we have?
3?
4 minutes.
Got it.
Quick and dirty.
So we got some dialogue here. This is actually a little promotional video from a crowdfunder we're running right now for my comic book, believe it or not.
Trying to find herself again after she lost
This for a second.
Joker. Because that's an all too real scenario.
So we've got 3 clips of dialogue, and what we really want to do is have our dialogue balanced, and we can do that in the Essential Sound panel. We've already selected it as dialogue. That way, every time we hit dialogue, it selects the dialogue, which is super cool. We showed you earlier. We can hit auto match, bang, and what it does is it looks at all the audio and takes each clip and makes each clip the same level. And you can see down here, it's boosted this 11, almost 12 decibels. But it's boosted this one almost 12.3. So now,
trying to find herself again after she lost herself.
As opposed to where it was before, a lot quieter.
Hardly.
But what's important
is the fans obviously loved her. There's still so many other types.
The next clip is also the same volume, which it really wasn't before.
Joan. I think there could be more relatable.
And this one is also the same, which is super cool. We can also select this, go back to dialogue, and my EQ. What happened to my EQ settings?
It's clarity.
Oh, psh, duh. Boom. Here we go. I can add EQ to everything. We've got some really cool presets that we can use. How about, is podcast voice? Yeah, let's try podcast voice. Every time I do this, it's immediately updating these clips.
Joan, I think there could be more relatable characters to girls every day.
Different EQ.
That can show strength. There's still so much work to be done.
That's a nice one.
But
and it's doing it to all these clips, clip-based. And some of you are like, hey man, is this getting burned in? And the answer is no, because if I go to View, Windows, Effects, Rack, you can see each one of these clips. When I go to the clip effects, it's something you can turn on or turn off at your leisure. Let's do some more fun in the 2.5 minutes I have left. Let's do dynamics, which brings up a certain amount of compression, which we talked about yesterday.
Joan, I think there could be more relatable characters to girls every day that can show strength.
And it's also doing expansion, which is killing anything that goes below the threshold of the dialogue, so you don't hear a whole lot of noise. So we can keep it neutral.
I think there could be more relatable characters to girls every day that can show strength. There's still so much work to be done.
Which is super awesome. And then I can take the overall level of everything and make that get a little crushed, a little lessen in the dynamic range zone without going over 0. Check this out.
There could be more relatable characters to girls every day that can show strength. There's still so much work to.
That's a ton of compression and limiting, and nothing's going over 0. We've been able to add EQ, and I can even add denoising if I want to it. We've balanced everything out, and what took the longest is for me to tell you about it. It's so fast.
That was fantastic. There's a whole bunch more in there. Check it out. You can find out more online. You can go to adobe.com. If they want to find you online, where can they go?
Please come and ask questions at cinemasound.com. This is the hub for everything that you need around knowing how to make great, powerful Hollywood immersion in your projects. I'd love to see you there on the forum, on the blog, anywhere. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mark. Back to work.
Back to work.
Have a great day, everybody. It's been an amazing week. Congratulations to all the winners.
Yay.
Congratulations to everybody who entered the contests. We loved them all. I can't wait to do this again. Have a great day, and I hope you guys sound good.
Thank you.